Chris Russo is in Augusta, Georgia. Yes, he's at the Masters, hobnobbing with the nation's elite, and you are stuck here with us bottom shelfers. But that's all right. We're going to tee off without him, and we're going to have a great show despite the fact that he's screaming in Tiger Woods' backswing. We have a big show for you today. MJ Melendez of the red-hot Kansas City Royals is on the program today, coming off a series sweep and 7 straight victories. And guess what? They're not done yet. Jesse Rogers is on the show talking about some of the young stars and the early impact going on with them. Ariel Epstein, she's our prop queen. She's here talking about the best bets over the course of the weekend. And then, of course, we also have, Jensen Lewis, who's going to be talking about the Cleveland Guardians. How do they pivot now that their ace, Shane Bieber, is out for an extended period of time? We're going to begin our brushback today with the early stars making a massive impact so far in 2004. And guess what? We're not talking about Jackson Holliday. We're not talking about Gunnar Henderson. And we're not talking about Adley Rutschman of the Orioles. You know who we need to talk about that we're not talking about enough? Colton Cowser, who single-handedly put the Orioles on his back over the course of the weekend against the Boston Red Sox. My goodness, what a series this kid had. Jake Real, who covers the Orioles for MLB.com, had a great point. Who knew the only thing that Colton Cowser needed was to tap into that power was a little friendly competition via the arrival of good friend Jackson Holliday. Cowser said, quote, as soon as Jackson got called up, I was messing around and I was like, if Jackson hits a home run before me, I'm going to be pretty upset. Against the Boston Red Sox, it was Cowser that stole the show. He hit his first 2 home runs of his big league career in the Orioles' 9-4 10-inning win over Boston on Thursday. During that series, he hit .462, 2 bombs, 3 doubles, 10 RBI. Thursday night was the first 3-hit game of his career. Guys, he's only played 37 big league games. The number 5 overall pick in the 2021 draft is showing everybody why. Jesse Rogers is here now, and Jesse, the Orioles starting lineup averages just 26 years of age, my friend. They are the youngest lineup in the AL East, and Cowser is just one of the many guys that we get to look forward to moving forward.
Yeah, their player development system is really coming through, isn't it, Alana? Just been great bringing up these players at the right time. We'll see if it's the right time for Holiday, but he's looking better and better just in the 2 games that I watched. He went from 0-2 to 3-2 a couple times, got on base with a hard hit ball against the lefty, his first at bat against the lefty last night. And then you see what Cowser's doing. Talking to Orioles people, they're just really happy he's improved in all areas of his game, including defense. And it doesn't take a genius to realize when you're hitting like 450, your plate coverage must be great, and that's what I'm seeing. There's no hole right now. I mean, the pitchers can't find the zone where to get him out. Upstairs, downstairs, he's going oppo. It's just one of those streaks that you normally see maybe mid-season and maybe out of a veteran, but here's a young guy doing it. So it's really a credit to their player development group. Adley Rutschman coming up at the right time, Cowser coming up at the right time, and again, it feels like the right time for Holiday. It probably felt like the right time when the season started for Jackson Holiday, but they kept him down for a bit. But you're finally seeing the fruits of all those high draft picks. And again, the development of these players. There's no guarantee after the draft. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Orioles development staff. But they're just really happy how Cowser has improved in all areas of the game, especially at the plate where he's shown a lot of patience and doing damage on good pitches and sometimes some bad pitches.
Yeah, he looks great. Number 5 overall pick in the 2021 draft. Man, the Orioles have some really young stars. Of course, Jackson Holliday being one of those guys. The number 1 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, finally making his major league debut a couple of days ago. And this weekend, Jesse, we get to see Jackson Holliday going up against Jackson Chourio, which is a really cool situation, too. 2 young kids, 2 stars for their respective clubs.
Yeah, they're still not quite there yet. Obviously, Holliday's just played a couple games, but Chourio, 3 walks, 13 Ks. You want to see that even out a little bit, but he's getting his hits. He looks comfortable. He looks like he belongs, if you can say that about a 20-year-old. And I think there's no doubt that Holiday looks the same. Like I said, each bat looks better and better, and it's just a matter of probably tonight where he gets his first major league hit. But this will be fun to see 2 very young players. We have to remember, I have a son that's older than these guys, Alana, and I'm not that old. So you have to remember, I mean, these guys will be, 4 or 5 year veterans and still be 24, 25 years old. So it'll be fun to watch them go head to head. Again, lots of room to grow. That plate discipline, no walks, 4 Ks. for Jackson Holiday, 3-13 for Churio. So you want to see that again even out, because that's usually the indicator that you're dominating the strike zone when those walks and strikeouts look a little bit more even, though this day and age it's never going to be completely 1-to-1. But the talent is there. I think everyone saw it in spring training, and that's why you sign up guys like Churio to the big deal that he got. Not many young players sign those extensions before making it to the majors. We saw Corbin Carroll basically do it a couple years ago. Here's Churio. This is why you do it, because the talent is just it just jumps off the screen when you watch it.
Well, it just shows you how highly regarded Jackson Churio is with the Milwaukee Brewers, not an out in the big leagues, and gave him that extension. I know what you feel like, Jesse, as far as being old. I remember when Jackson Holiday was running around the Colorado Rockies clubhouse when I was covering his dad, Matt Holiday. He was 3 or 4 years old, and he already had that beautiful left-handed swing, and here he is at the big league level. All right, the takeaways from the strong Yankees start. We knew that they had the potential of being good because of the offense, but the pitching's been just as good as it needs to be, at least until they get Garrett Cole back.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. This might be the story of the first couple weeks here, to see what the Yankees have done. I've been on your show many times. I've been on radio, different forums, and anybody that's listened or heard me knows that I am obsessed with left-handed slug, evening out your lineup, balancing the lineup. I'd rather have more good lefties than righties. They just don't grow on trees. There's not many out there. And finally, Brian Cashman got a lefty to go along with Anthony Rizzo. You just can't have one to be elite. You have to have more than one. And they got the best guy in the league, really, from the left side of the plate. Certainly the best guy available on the trade market or free agency in Juan Soto. And you already see what's happening, the balance in that lineup. Now, they rank 11th in OPS against right-handed pitching. Doesn't sound great. 11th mid-pack, right, Alana? Yet last year against right-handed pitching, the Yankees ranked 27th in OPS. Oof. So a big jump from 27 to 11. Granted, it's a couple weeks, but I only see them getting better. They found the balance. They're getting enough pitching without Garrett Cole. That's probably the surprise of baseball, the record that they have without Garrett Cole. But it's in part because of the balance in the lineup. Cashman tried so many left-handed bats, from Joey Gallo to Matt Carpenter, and he goes from, sort of the bottom to the top in Juan Soto, along with Anthony Rizzo. They finally have the balance to go along with Judge and Stanton. And I think this is going to be a lineup, if it stays healthy, that's going to be great all year long. Not that I'm saying anything outrageous, because we kind of expected this, but I've been waiting for this lineup to balance, and it finally has gotten to that point, I think.
Yeah, and they have Alex Verdugo as well. I'm not comparing him to Juan Soto, but another left-handed bat as an option. And keep in mind, Jesse, they have the best record in the majors, and Aaron Judge hasn't even heated up yet. I mean, Aaron Judge right now hitting 178, 367, 378, just 2 home runs and 6 ribbies in 13 games. Now, fans in the Bronx are asking him to be traded, but I mean, this is a guy that he's going to heat up. I mean, this Yankees team is only going to get better.
Oh, I think it's a great point, because look, you're not going to get 9 guys going all at once. If you can be 10-3 and Judge isn't going, just imagine. And there'll be a point where Soto, and I'm glad you mentioned Verdugo, I should add him as well. There'll be a point where a couple of those other guys dip, but that's the beauty of a long, lengthy lineup. There's always going to be several guys going hot. Rarely do you have 8 or 9. So I think it's glass half full. If you're a Yankee fan, let Judge go through his struggles now, and let Soto and other guys carry you, and then it'll reverse itself. But as long as you're winning, that's all that matters. And I predicted the Yankees to go far in October, as long as Garrett Cole is healthy. So seeing this without Cole, seeing this without Judge getting hot, I think it's great news if you're a Yankee fan.
Yeah, big series this weekend with the Yankees and the Guardians. All right, let's talk about the state of the Cubs rotation. I hated to see Justin Steele go down on opening day. He has such a promising career. Kyle Hendricks is struggling a little bit, but Imanaga's looked pretty good. What's the state of their union as far as the rotation is concerned, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit in survival mode. They're on an early West Coast trip now. That's never easy. And when you're missing a couple pitchers and one struggling in a big way in Kyle Hendricks, it's not going to look pretty all the time. They lost the series to the Padres. They need Steele back. It's not going to be for a couple more weeks at least. Tyon is making another start in the minors, so he's on his way back. They've got to figure out what's going on with Kyle Hendricks. I've almost never heard him with so much sort of self-doubt He's given up 17 earned runs over the course of 3 starts. He's always been bad in April, so maybe this is just part of it, though this is particularly bad. So it's a little wonky. That's the word I like to use when it's a little up and down. But they can survive. The back end isn't so bad. Javier Assad and Jordan Wicks, not household names just yet, pitching well for them. So the back end is actually pitching as well as the front end, but that's okay. Like I said with the Yankees, like as long as somebody's pitching well, it doesn't matter what the name is on the back of that jersey. So it's kind of survival mode until Steele and Taillon get back. And I don't doubt that Kyle Hendricks is going to be better. He's going to be better than what he has shown. So I guess you could say better days are ahead for the rotation, and it's a team that's still above 500. They just need to get through this West Coast trip against Seattle, tough team, and Arizona World Series team. So, look, if they get through that, I think better days are ahead in May as Steele returns and Taillon comes back as well.
Yeah, certainly hope so, because without Imanaga right now, the rest of the rotation has a combined ERA of 5.06. But again, it's very early. And speaking of early, what are your first impressions of Craig Counsell? Now, the Cubs are 7-5. The Brewers are 8-3, but the Cubs were 7-5 at this point last year, too, with David Ross at the helm.
Yeah, look, you're not going to see that much different outwardly, right? A lot of the nuance when it comes to managing is behind the scenes. I think bullpen management is overrated. In fact, I was kind of critical of Craig from Monday night. That was a game that they blew an 8-0 lead. So, of course, you can second guess the manager on some moves. But every manager is going to make some good ones, some bad ones. So it's going to be under the surface where Craig's expertise is going to come out. And it's going to happen over time. You know, I've known him for a long time, but I've never really covered him day to day. I'm in Chicago. He's now here. And, you know, he's very no nonsense. He's very direct with the media, very direct, I think, behind the scenes as well. He'll tell you, you know, the way it is, and he really won't waver from that. You know, it's very direct answers to questions you ask him. So that's always good for a reporter. But, you know, he's just very good at all the nuanced things of the game, and he can communicate with the front office in a way that most managers probably haven't done or can't do, as he used to be there. And he's just a very, you know, he came from the front office, very smart guy. But that's my impression of him so far. I think that the nuanced differences are going to come behind the scenes, not necessarily in the dugout from innings 1 to 9.
Jesse, you threw me a curveball. In 20 years of covering baseball, I have never heard somebody say that they thought bullpen management was overrated. Why do you think that is? And by the way, Bruce Bochy is on line 1. Yeah,
look, I'm just saying the difference between 1 and 30 isn't as big as everyone thinks, in my opinion. Obviously, there's ones that are better and ones that aren't. And I think Counsell probably is one of the better ones, and Bochy one of the better ones, but I don't think it's the reason you fire a manager or hire a manager for bullpen management. I think Jed Hoyer and Craig Counsell would even agree with that. I just think there's so many 50-50 decisions that could go this way or that way, and we're outcome biased a little bit, that we overplay that. We overplay that. You have to have the horses. And frankly, he had Josh Hader and Devin Williams. Now, maybe Josh Hader and Devin Williams were great in part because Craig brought it out of them and used them correctly. I don't doubt that. But Monday night, they had an 8-0 lead, Alana, and every person he turned to gave it up, you know, including his closer, who was asking for a 5-out save from. So, I don't know. I just feel like the differences are small. Not that there aren't there. I just think we overrate them a little bit.
I understand. I also think that Josh Hader was probably going to do better in Houston than he has so far. You're really missing Bautista in, you know, Baltimore with Craig Kimbrell there. So I get what you're saying, my friend. I get what you're saying. I had just never heard that before. All right. The White Sox, they are in a big fat mess. 2-10. Where do they go from here, Jesse?
There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There really isn't. You know, I thought their pitching staff would be their weakness, and it's been okay. Their bats are starting to get a little bit better. They scored some runs against the Guardians, but overall, it's just been brutal. 3 huge injuries again: Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez. These aren't coincidences. These guys haven't trained correctly for the sport that they're in. They look great at times, especially Moncada and Robert, but they're not trained correctly for this sport. Eloy's kind of in a different category. So without those at least experienced hitters, they're going to have all sorts of problems at the plate over time. And I don't think Chris Getz, the GM, is done making changes. So come July, like Michael Kopech, if he proves to be a good reliever, could be on the move. I think there's a bunch of position players, if they get healthy or are good, could be on the move. So my point is, we have not seen the bottom. The 101 losses last year may not be the bottom, Alana. This year, though, it might be more by design. Last year, it wasn't. This year, it might be, because Getz had such a tall task. I've never seen a team turn over its pitching staff. Currently, one pitcher remains from last year, 0 starters. That is hard to do from opening day last year, and that is Kopech. They signed Clevenger here. He'll be a second pitcher returning from last year's opening day. You can't be even respectable with that much turnover. They turned over both their catchers. So, again, we have not seen the bottom, but at least this is by design as they try to start this thing over with a new GM. I'm not sure how long the current manager is going to be there. Like, if you lose another 100 games, it's not necessarily all on him. But I think Chris Getz is just going to start everything over and see where it can go from there.
Yeah, a complete rebuild on the South Side. This is just the third time in franchise history, Jesse, that this team has started so poorly through the first 12 games of this season. Before I get your answer to this last question, I want to pose it to those of us that are sitting on our couch watching High Heat right now. We asked you this earlier. Join the conversation. What are you most looking forward to around the majors this weekend? Tweet us for a chance to be featured on the show. So, Jesse, I'm going to ask you that same question. What are you looking forward to watching this weekend?
You know, it's interesting. There aren't a ton of key matchups. Cleveland versus New York, 2 teams that were off to a great start. Obviously, Baltimore playing Milwaukee with the 2 rookies we talked about. But Yoshinobu Yamamoto's 4th start tonight. Now, I saw him in person at Wrigley Field, and that breaking stuff is really starting to come along. He looked great, even in the cold weather. So I'm kind of looking forward to him. I think he's finally, getting used to it a little bit. You can't expect everything all at once for players, that are coming over from Japan or Korea. He had that first bad start, but slowly but surely he's starting to look like the $325 million man. So just specific to tonight, I want to see him against the Padres offense that looked good against the Cubs earlier in this week. So Yamamoto is my guy sort of to watch, just based on the fact that we don't have a ton of great matchups this weekend and the fact that he really is coming along, and his last start was a really good one.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw out the soul start. I think everybody can say they were off their routine when it comes to that. Jesse Rogers, great insight as always, my friend. We appreciate you taking us around the league. Have a great weekend.
You too, Alana. Good to talk to you.